Right. Thank you all so much for coming out to tonight's meeting. My name is Allison Elliott. I am the Assistant Township Manager. And we are holding, this is the first listening session for each of the communities to talk about facilities as a whole and facilities in your community as well. We have a few more people coming. As you may have heard, the township has 16 facilities, and each and every one of them have their challenges for the township, whether it's maintenance, whether the township, has, it doesn't meet the township's needs anymore. And frankly, they've all become a burden to the township from a financial perspective. And as far as we can tell, while the township has been doing maintenance work on these buildings to keep them limping along, we haven't really done any major renovations to any of these facilities to make sure that they can continue to operate for the long term for the township. So this is one of the first efforts that I'm aware of. We've done some smaller planning studies, but the first township-wide community facility study. And we've hired the firm of KCBA and ReVision Architecture to help walk us through the process, which is going to involve an evaluation of all of our facilities and meeting with community stakeholders and the township's facilities needs going forward. So like I said, thank you so much for coming out tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to the KCBA ReVision Architecture firm team. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Allison. I guess what I'd like to do is to begin with thanking every one of you for giving up your time to attend this listening session. I know everybody's time is valuable. We want to take advantage of that. My name is Eric Cianelli. I am the principal at KCBA Architects. I'm a resident of Cheltenham for nearly 30 years. I was fortunate to raise two daughters here, and both through the school programs, and they've all went off to college, and now are moving into their professional life. So with that said, I am an expert in community facilities, townships, police. I've been fortunate to be a part of the architecture firm for now over 20 years. And I believe my experience and my expertise in this area will help the community with their endeavors to either restore or reimagine some of these facilities. I've just recently completed over 23 similar studies with similar programs across other townships in the area. So I hope my experience can help you in your endeavors here.
That's great. Thanks, Eric. So my name is Drew Levine. I'm from ReVision. I'm also a township resident. I've lived here for 10 years now. It's very exciting to be able to look back and say, oh my gosh, I've been here for 10 years. So that's great. And it brings me a lot of excitement and pride and joy to be able to work with you all on such a wonderful study like this. Jamie, you want to introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll jump into things here?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Bortz. I work for KCBA Architects with Eric. While I am not a resident of Cheltenham Township, I'm very familiar with your area. Eric and I just completed one of the many studies that he's been working on lately at Abington Township. So again, I have familiarity with your area as well as these facility studies. So anxious to see what we discussed tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, great. Jamie. So I wanted to kind of explain KCBA. I'm sure it's a newer name to everyone. This is our 50th year. So we're very proud to have served the communities for that long. We do specialize in these studies. We do specialize in township, police, fire, community facilities, and a multitude of libraries and type work. Our specialty is in public funded jobs where there's multi-prime, multiple bids, and we're set up to help keep the township safe and give them a good professional set should anything procure from this study. So with the 23 studies that I talked about earlier, we're currently working in Upper Moreland and as Jamie mentioned, Abington. We've also worked over in Upper Saucon and we're working in Lower Gwinnett, and we also worked in Hatfield. So if somebody needs a list of the places that we're currently working, I'd be more than welcome to share those things with you. Drew, you want to talk about ReVision?
Sure. Yeah. So as I mentioned, I'm with ReVision Architecture, and our practice is really built around 4 pillars. The first one is green architecture and planning. So we're, full service architecture firm. We do a lot of planning studies as well. We do everything from houses to commercial buildings to nonprofit sector to industrial. So what unites us across all the different kinds of buildings that we work on is sustainability and green, and really focusing on ecological and social issues. We do building performance services. So we look at building science. We get into we geek out on existing buildings and how they work and how they don't work. We love that. We experiment by nature. We're inquisitive folks. We do sustainable certifications, and we do sustainable building certifications. You may have heard of a program called LEED. A lot of people have heard of LEED. We work also on sustainable organization certifications, primarily B Corporation and JUST, where we're really focused on working with organizations to look at how equitable they are and how well they treat their employees. And then we also focus on community engagement. We have our roots in community engagement. We do charrette facilitation for groups of all sizes, whether it's a group of 5 or a group of 100 or 150 people. So we love people. We love working with you all and hearing from you and making good stuff together. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is remove barriers to green buildings and sustainable communities. So that's why we're out there. That's a little bit about ReVision, a little bit about KCBA, just so you all can get a sense of who we are. We'd love to go and do introductions, but there's so many people here, we're not going to be able to do it and finish this meeting tonight. So we hope to, as you jump in, tell us your name, tell us something that excites you, that brings you here tonight, and we'll have fun as we go through the evening here. Before we jump in, we wanted to give you just a little bit of background. Allison introduced this about what our, this is, as Allison mentioned, this pop-up session is part of a broader township facility study. And we wanted to just kind of outline in some pretty broad strokes what we're doing here. Eric, you want to run through this real quick?
Sure. So one of our first tasks that we're going to dive into outside of these listening sessions is we're going to start to go into each one of the buildings, and we're going to assess them. We're going to look at them and see, what would take to bring them up to code and make them more usable. We're going to dive in and look at your program assessment. What does a program fit in there? If it doesn't fit in there, what are some options to make the program fit, whether it's just a minor tweaking of some walls, or if it's a bigger program where there's small additions and so just these are all concepts, nothing that anything is moving on, but that's how we're going to look at your facilities. Once we kind of reconcile the assessment, and we look at the programs where we get your needs versus your wants, we start to narrow what that program really is. We think that'll probably be a great time to re-engage the community and talk about what would be how could these facilities work better for the community, and what might that look like if we, knowing the program, knowing the needs, and we sit with you and we start to discuss some of these facilities. And I believe we're targeting a late September potential community engagement on that type of work. I guess we'll confirm that as we go through the studies, and Allison and her team will send out that firm date once that's established. Once we get through the community engagement on that portion of that, we'll start to reconcile some of those great ideas that come from the community, and then we'll begin to put that package together, begin to put cost estimates to some of these ideas. There'll be more than one idea. I'm sure there's going to be, maybe 5 to 6, depending on how it all goes, and we'll start to reconcile that with a budget. We'll start to put the package together, a bound package, a hard copy package that shows all the studies from the facilities, from the programming, from these options that we all discuss, and we package that up and we get that over to the board and have the board take a look at that, and then they can take some action on that or look at expanding those options.
So tonight, what our goal is tonight is really to hear from you. We want to hear from you all about the Mott Community Center, and we've got a couple of questions that we're going to put out for discussion, and we really just want to hear your candid responses to this. Tell us what you love about things. So we got a bunch of questions that we're going to ask, and I think that if you can use the raise hand function in Zoom, we'll make sure that we can call on everyone, make sure that we got one person at a time talking so we can all hear. Really tonight, we're here to learn from you and be inspired by you and hear about this wonderful place. Before we get started, I just want to make sure that we have the space to answer any general questions before we get into the specifics. Does anybody have any general questions before we jump in?
I think I saw Elaine Tomlin. Did you have a question?
Yes. The township has authorized y'all to do the study, so they'll be paying for the study. Is the township open to making something, investing in, once you do complete the study, to actually do the work? That's the big question. I'm just saying, because once the study's done, is the board ready to invest into making the Lamont become what y'all come up to based on your findings of what it could be?
I can say this. I can't speak for the board itself or what direction we end up going. This is a township-wide endeavor. So we are looking at all of the facilities with the intention that at the end of the day, there will be something that comes out that is for the benefit of the entire community. I don't know what that looks like at this point because there are so many options on the table. And when you're looking at 16 different facilities and how to serve the community in the best way possible, it gets to be a very daunting task. And that's why we are reaching out to as many people in the community as possible for input, because we want to be able to provide the services that the community needs and deserves. And but at the same time, we need to be very conscious of the budget and making sure that we're not raising taxes unduly to support all the facilities that we have. So like I said, we don't have an expected outcome for this. We don't know what it's going to look like, but we can say that we do need to put some investment into our facilities. What that looks like, we don't know though.
So you're saying, like, out of the 16 facilities, you don't know how Lamont would stand, but something probably will be done to Lamont based on your budget possibility. Is that what you're saying? Because it's 16 facilities.
Right. So yeah, so we don't, like I said, I don't know what that looks like. It may be, I can't answer that at this point. We're trying to be very open-ended and open-minded.
Okay, well, at least you're truthful. Thank you.
Elaine, I think it's a really good question. And, I think for us, just we're just started, right? We're just starting to get in here. Eric and I have a really good running start living here in the township and knowing about it, but we're so excited to meet you all in person too. But I think that right now, like we want to try and work with everyone to figure out what does good look like for Cheltenham Township. What is that, right? Because right now we can go in a lot of different directions, and I think before we figure out what direction we want to head, we just want to look at a bunch of different things and understand what is it, like where do we want to head, what can we do, and then there's a lot of planning that goes into making that happen. But right now we're just trying to figure out like what is good for us here, for all of us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so like I said, we got a few questions here. We don't have too many questions tonight, but what we want to do is have some questions that where we can really think about good things. We'll ask you for challenges too, right? But we want to really try and paint a picture here, a broad picture of the Lamont Community Center, the building, where it is, where it's been, maybe where it's going. There's no wrong answers tonight. It's all just about sharing our views on things. So raise your hand. You can also use the chat if you want to drop something in the chat, and we can, if you don't feel like talking, that's cool. You can just type something up there, and yeah, we'll go from there. So I don't want everyone to live in Zoom tonight, so we're gonna put the questions up, and then we'll take it down so we can all see each other, because I think we all spend enough time looking at Zoom and slides and PowerPoint. Like, we want to look at each other tonight. So we'll frame it out, and then we'll all chat. So this is an easy one, but I think it's really important. So the question is, and I say your favorite, but we don't have to limit it, right? What is a good memory of yours, a good experience of the Lamont Community Center? So chew on that one for a second, and we can start to have some discussion around this. But it's really, we want to know about something great that you experienced there, a really good time, or something that really stick with you, that has some meaning. So I'm going to take a slide off the screen.
Drew, looks like we have one chat comment and someone's raising their hand.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw one hand raised.
Go to Darlene.
Yeah, so I think Sandra, I think I saw your hand go up first.
Yes, hi.
Hi, nice to meet you, Sandra.
Yes, good evening, everybody. What a wonderful question to start off with tonight. And I would like to share with everyone my most memorable experience with the Lamont Community Center was during my years as active second vice president of the Cheltenham branch NAACP. And I'm very sure many of you that are on here tonight know who I am. So I would like to say that to hear that we're now talking about this very crucial endeavor, that we must take this and put this in the forefront here. This is a very, very extremely important project to address, you know, most importantly for the community of Cheltenham. We have to take into account of the people that we serve in the community. I do clearly understand that everyone understands what it means to have somewhere in your community where your community can congregate, can come together, can come to be able to be family oriented across the board. That is what the memorable experiences were for me. The Linwood Gardens community that is just a stone throw away from the Lamont Community Center never really utilized that community to its capacity, because there are also some major issues that are going on in that community. The infrastructure, the environment, just the whole setting where people made it work. But we knew that some of that stuff, you know, were just so old and outdated that we made it work. But this is the time after a pandemic that we really need to address those issues, because this issues has a lot to do with the public health concerns that we're right now dealing with on a regular basis. So to be able to develop and structure a healthy community, first and foremost, a healthy community is important. So how is the Lamont Community Center is going to continue that ambition and continue that desire and continue that collaborative effort for the Cheltenham community? I do know Mr. Bill Chambers is on this here, and he can share with you some of the historical pieces of Lamont community, the Lamont community overall. And you know, I could go on and on, but I do know that others have more to say. But what I can remember were the valuable times of how we were able to serve the African-American community, the underserved in our community, on an equitable basis based upon it didn't matter what culture, what race, what color or creed you were from. It was the fact of the matter that you came into this community center to meet others. And if we can continue that, that would be just a wonderful effort on the Montgomery County at large. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. That was wonderful. I really appreciated how you said, you brought up the issues of health and having a healthy community. And it's really, you know, we think about health in a physiological way, but so much of it has to do with being together.
Absolutely.
Right. And so it was really wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Darlene, I think I saw your hand pop up second.
Hello, everyone. I'm Darlene Melton. I've been a resident since 1988. I'm currently very active, always been, but I'm on one of the advisory boards. In answer to your question, because I think everybody's going to say the same things, I did have another comment and a question, but I'm going to keep it to this question. My most memorable experience about the Lamont Center is when I moved here. I was a young mother. My children now are in their 40s. What I loved about it was the fact they had some place to go safe, that I knew they were in the neighborhood. They had a person there that made sure that the children was watched, regardless of what they were doing. So those were my first memories of why I really liked the center. But there were other things that I attended. One was a book signing, and I like music. So it was very nice to have a woman whose sister sung with Marvin Gaye to come and talk. And we got our CDs, which I still have my CD. One time there was I can't remember why they had this event, but it was a dance contest rather. The children had all different activities. So those are my memories of the Lamont Center. We would have a fair, and then people would just, socialize. We had fundraisers. Myself and another woman was involved in this little kitchen off to the side. And, we made tea and things. So, and as regards to Linwood Gardens, there were some children at the time, and I believe they still do. They can walk through. It's the closest center for them to go to. So as an overall community, yes, Lamont is a historical district in itself, but we're part of Cheltenham, and a larger community is in walking distance. So those are my memories of and why I think the center is an important building, other than the fact it's historical. Okay.
Thank you so much for that. It's you painted such a lovely picture of growing up as kids with Lamont and as a parent with Lamont. It's really wonderful. I know you said you had other questions, and I want to make sure you get to ask your other questions later. So we'll come back to you. But thank you for answering the question. It was really great. Tangela, I think I saw you up next.
Yes, hi. Thank you for the time and the space.
Absolutely.
So I have at least 4 questions here that I would like for someone to address, and I apologize that I had to get on about 15 minutes into the meeting. So I don't know if you've already addressed this, but if you could bring me up to speed, I would appreciate it. The first thing is, I know that there have been some concerned citizens in Lamont who are, I just want to be clear, we're wanting the center to open back up, to be fully functional to the residents of Lamont. That is our ask, that is our request, that is what we think our neighborhood deserve. So I really want to make that point clear to you all. I know you said that you're painting a broad picture and that you are talking about it's a community, I guess maybe on a macro level, a community project, including 16 buildings. But again, our focus is on the Lamont Community Center. And we were actually wanting specifics, meaning a timeline, what you all were putting in the works, what the cost was going to be, what was, why had the building become dilapidated to the point of it could not be open to the public. And also, how is it that the library, which we got notification of, is able to be open to the public, but the rest of the building poses a health risk? That's kind of puzzling to me. So I would like someone to speak to that. And then, was there not an ongoing concerted effort by the board or whomever responsibility it is to actually keep these buildings and maintain these buildings? Because from a report that we got, again, it seemed like this building had been neglected for a very long time, which actually now has created a bigger problem than it actually would have been. So I think someone really needs to speak to who's in charge of keeping up with these buildings, because we know that being proactive and maintaining buildings can actually help out on the financial end if we're really concerned about the budget. Those are the questions that I have that I would like someone to speak to.
I can try to address some of your questions. As I mentioned earlier, and I know you mentioned that you missed part of the early part of the meeting. What's going on in Lamont is not unique to Lamont. When the municipality is managing 16 different facilities, they've been putting effort into basically making repairs to the buildings without doing major renovations. And almost every single one of our buildings are at an age where major renovations are necessary in order to keep them operating. Mechanicals are reaching the end of their useful age, roofs and other systems. So when that all adds up across an entire community's network of buildings, it becomes extremely expensive. I can say we have put a lot of money actually into Mott, but it's expensive. And this is one of the reasons why we're taking a look at all of our facilities in one shot, is what is the most efficient way to provide really great services to our community. And we're taking this as a time to say, this is really exciting. What can we do for the community that provides even better services than we've provided in the past? Is the model that we are providing to the community appropriate? And that's why we're taking a big step back and looking at it from a big picture. So yes, we understand that this, the community center is important to the community, and that maybe it is the best way to continue to serve the community, but we're not sure of that yet. We want to go through this process and talk to all of our residents and try and find the best solution to providing the services, but also being prudent with our finances as well.
But Allison, I want to get to other people. I see other people, hands are up. But I mean, living in Cheltenham is not cheap, right? Taxes
Correct.
are not cheap at all, right?
Right.
And I think that when I said we deserve it, it's because we pay for it, right? Like, this isn't anything that anyone is doing for us. We're paying for this. And we expect for our buildings to be upkept in a manner in which they are accessible to the public. And when you say, and I'm just really being upfront, I hope we can have a genuine and authentic conversation about this. When you say you all have been putting a lot of money in and doing a good job, not quite so much, Allison, because the buildings are not usable. So I really think we need to start from a place of really looking at what are you doing? Because if we start from the wrong place, then we're not going to get to the right place.
And I never said that we thought we were doing a good job. So please, let's be clear on that. I've been saying we've been putting money into the buildings, and just the sheer volume of buildings makes it a bit of a challenge financially for the community. And I'm sure Eric and Drew and Jamie can attest. When you look at other municipalities, I can tell you that there probably isn't another community of our size that has as many buildings as we do. So we are very building heavy. So it does drain financial resources. So I mean, and this is, like I said, this is, we are not coming up with a solution tonight for Lamont or any other building. We are using this meeting tonight to understand what you like about the facilities, what you'd like to see continue on, and ask these questions so that we can formulate a good plan moving forward.
Well, we
Yeah.
like the facility to be reopened.
I'm not sure if you want us to jump in, Allison, but
Go right ahead.
yeah, I was just there the other day, and there is some challenges in reopening the facility. There is some mold there. It is in several different areas. So there's where your health concern would be, and you don't want to bring yourself in there or your children in there at that point in some parts of that building. So the township's doing the right thing by securing it, but as she's noted, it's going to cost some resources to clean it up. Now, if we're going to engage not only Lamont, but the other community centers, we really need to kind of see what can we do, what are the options for the commissioners to do, and ultimately, if they're going to invest some funds into this, can we, what's the plan? What are we going to do? Do we want? How can we improve it? You've been in Lamont. The quarters are tight. It's got one ADA ramp. You can't get out from the back of the building. So there's some challenges. We want to make sure we make the facility safer, so that anybody of any disability can get in there and engage and go back through some of these memories that are on the chat there. There's some great things there. My daughters were there for some parties back when they were in elementary school. So I love to get the facility back up, but if we're going to have to spend money, hopefully we can give the board some options so they can spend it wisely. They're not going to have unlimited funds, so they're going to have to focus on how they're going to spend it. And hopefully we can do it and get this facility up and running at a cost-effective solution, and it'll be something that the board will consider. I mean, I'm sure I didn't quite answer your question, but you can understand that it is complicated.
No, I can appreciate that it's complicated, but again, I'm not gonna back down, and I'm gonna give you all pushback that if there was regular maintenance, then it may not be this expensive. And no one is wanting to compromise their health. My family moved here in 2012. We've hosted many family events in Lamont Community Center. So it does hold a special place, as everyone has said. And no one wants to go in there with asbestos or molds or if the air quality is not up to form. But again, what was the ongoing maintenance? Because these things happen over time, Eric. This isn't something that happens because the pandemic came, right? It happens over time. So you all have to take a look at that and see where the neglect came from. And now we're at this exorbitant amount of money that we now have to pay out to get the facility back up and running.
It's understood, and I can't go back over time and know all what happened during the last 2 years. But what we can do is talk to everybody in the community and try to make sure we can try to put this community back together, at least the center back together, so that the community can re-engage it. And hopefully this listening session tonight is really kind of, how can we make this facility better? Let's talk, and then that's going to be a question that's coming up, Drew. I know I'm kind of jumping the gun, but we wanted to make sure we go past through the history and then talk about what you like, and then hopefully we'll get to talk about what you'd like to see. I obviously want to get it open, but if we're going to have to get it open, let's get it right, and let's get it fixed for the next 40, 50 years, 100 years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what makes a community center successful? I'm jumping ahead a little bit too, so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We always set up the rules and then break it, so we're guilty. But like, I'm an architect. Like, I spend all day thinking about buildings, right? Like, at the end of the day, the building doesn't make the community. It's the people. The building's there to serve the people. So, and there's different approaches to architecture and design, but really what, like, I think as Eric said, like, what we want to really do is be able to, you know, learn from the history of this place, but look forward to say, how do we build community with this as a tool? So, you know, Tangela, thank you for your comments. I take them to heart. And you know, that's what we're trying to do here, is think about what's the best way. The pandemic has definitely been a moment for all of us to kind of reflect on, you know, when we were not with our community, when we were alone, and how important it is to be around each other. It's put a lot of things into focus. And, you know, so we can better understand, you know, how central these things are to our communities.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For all of the communities across the board of Montgomery County, what is the most important factor here? Is that a public safety matter, a public health matter? If that is the case, that is where you should start, to address it at that level first, because it has to be in the state that people can go and feel comfortable and feel safe. And if that is addressed, I think you've met pretty much the bulk of the criteria here, because as you stated, it takes the community to build from there. So what we need good infrastructure. We need good quality air. We need quality lighting. We need the lighting that is capable of keeping the air itself, as I don't know if you all are aware of it, but the UV lighting that is very good in these types of places. Those issues right there in terms of community, people, health matters, public safety matter should be the main, you know, concern, and that is the bulk of it. And I feel that what the lady that was speaking so passionately about, when you live in a community, and this is where you raise your children, you know, your tax dollars are being applied to the community. You want to continue living within the community, you know, that matters to her. So therefore, those are the voices that I feel that is most essential in terms of listening, instead of trying to piecemeal it together. Listen to the most important matter here. And this woman who has to raise her children, who has to live in the community itself, needs somewhere for her children to go, somewhere healthy, somewhere safe. And I feel is that is really the crux of it all, you know, that this money that you're saying to be allotted to be applied to, this is to me is, and I don't mean to be facetious, but it's a no-brainer. The community has been in dire straits for many years prior to the pandemic. I've been there for 20 years. I've seen it fall apart. I do know the quality of air in there is poor. I do know there's a safety factor, the way the building was structured from years and years and years ago. You know, I mean, but it's still a very good place for the community at large, and something can be done about it. We don't want to have that as a stain in Montgomery County, that the Lamont Community Center, one of the most historic communities, the most, I would say, integrated community, the most community that I would say has more people of color that live in the community. Those are the voices that needs to be heard. Instead of trying to piecemeal it and say, well, I'm going to give you something and this and that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to had an opportunity to apply for the grant funding of the Montgomery County, Pandemic Recovery Funds. Fortunately, I don't know what happened. I feel the ball was dropped there. So now we have to sit back and wait for someone to be able to make a determination. You know, that is not a piece of what something that is equitable presents. You know, I'm feeling good, but then again, it's a part of me that feels as though we're just kind of barking up the same tree. We're still there. So the voices of the community needs to make the determination here. And I'm pretty sure, rest assured, that if you address the issue of public safety, public health, get the infrastructure in that building together, and as she stated, get someone to maintenance that building on a regular basis, you would have a happy place. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do agree. You know, the infrastructure of the facility, when it gets renovated, if it's done right and we do it right, it's something that doesn't necessarily need the constant attention. It'll be something that that Al and his team can do with their computers to set temperatures and humidity levels. So they you know, they like Allison says, they got 16 buildings, and their poor team is stretched across the township. It's very hard for them to get to everything, but hopefully we can automate some parts of this thing so that the building could be better maintained while they're there and when they're not there. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but that'll be part of the goal, so that the facility could be more durable than it already was and than it had been.
You know, Sandra, I appreciate your comments. You know, Eric, Jamie, and I as architects, like one of our things is we can walk into any building and see the potential, right? And so, you know, I think that, you know, when you talk about safety and health, you know, both your physical safety, but also, you know, your health safety, because health is a part of safety. There's, you know, we don't look at this building or any building and say we can't solve these problems, right? We know the ways to do it. We can do it. I appreciate you lifting these things up as the critical things to address. I really appreciate that. I did see a bunch of other hands up. I want to make sure that everyone gets their comments in here. Frederica, and I'm sorry if I pronounce names wrong.
Frederica, I'm guessing.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And I ditto what my community had said, and I will add that I've lived here for a very long time. I graduated in 1960 from Cheltenham High School and started in kindergarten those many years ago. So Mott Community Center has been a part of my life for all of those years. And yes, I did move away and come back, but there was always family here. So I was in and out of Mott all of my life, you know, at least a couple of times a month, if not on a regular basis, daily when I was a child here, and then went off to live on my own for a while, college and so forth and so on. But when I was younger, the community center was a source of education that I was not getting in the public school. So I was able to take dance lessons with people who are now a part of Philadanco. For those of you who are in the dance community, you're aware of Philadanco. And so I took lessons. We started there at the community center and then went to the main dance school and so forth and so on. We also learned how to have teas, because when I was younger, that was very important in the African-American community. And I also went to Sunday school, both at the Mott AME Church and the church that I belong to now, Salem. But that also came from the community and through the Mott Community Center. I remember a lot of things as far as being educated, there around things, like I said, that we didn't get in the public school. I also developed with a neighbor the Mott Fair, which we did for 21 years. And we just stopped doing that not too long ago. And some of you are aware that I was on the school board for, seems like for an eternity, but it was really only about 12 years. But I say all of that, not in a braggadocious way, but just to say that I've been here for a long time. And when I found out that the Mott Community Center was closed and some of the things that had happened there, the reason why it was closed, I was really, very, very upset and still am. Because I didn't know these things were happening. And, for me, it's not about pointing the finger of blame. Obviously, these buildings, not just the center, but all of them were not being kept up. And so then I thought about the fact that someone has mentioned that, we were paying our taxes. Where did our tax money go? And I said, well, some of that I have to say is on me because, I wasn't watching it. So, we all have to take a little piece of what has happened here, and we have to realize that, no, it should not have happened, but it did happen. And so since the building is in disrepair right now, then we need to face the fact and find out what we're going to do about it. And that's why one of the reasons why this meeting is very important. Yes, we want the building, we want it in the shapes so that it's healthy for everyone and so that we can do the programs that are healthy for our community. So yes, but to go on and on and on and on and not have the answers that Tangela has brought in question is very frustrating. And, I'm like several of the other people on this call, I could talk on and on and on and on, but that's not going to help the situation. So, yes, I understand that, those of you who are architects, I know other architects also, and, that's how you see things. And the way I see things, of course, is much different because I'm a social worker and I see things as, what can we do? What do we need? What are our needs here? And so that's how I come across. A lot of it is, for me, I'm looking right now at neurological diseases, which I've worked in. Right now, I'm retired, thank God, and I can, I can look at a lot of different things and do other things, in our community, which I do attempt to do. However, again, I'd like to know, when can we expect to have some really good information? I was very dismayed to hear about the fact that we missed out on an opportunity for money through a grant opportunity. I don't know how that got missed because not that many years ago, proposals were written and grant money was used a lot in this township. I don't know if that's still the case. But it really is sad that we missed out on this opportunity because it could have helped the building of the center. Rebuilding it would have been a lot easier. I understand that the boiler is not functioning. And of course, that created a lot of other problems. I understand that that's very expensive. However, we do have someone in our community that is looking into that and has offered to look at it and possibly come up with ways to have it repaired and so forth. So I know that with the boiler being down, that probably caused some of the other structural things, because if the building is not heated when it needs to be heated and not cool when it needs to be cooled, then you have mold, you have all these other things. So yes, it's falling apart structurally. We have not necessarily had the leadership in our community that we need. And so I'm very dismayed about that also. when I stopped doing the fair, I said, okay, I'm just gonna, retire. There are a lot of other people here in the community that will be able to, continue on. I've worked with them. And so to jump back in at this point is not exactly where I thought I would be at this time in my life, in my community. However, that's where we are. And so I ask all of us and all of you who are the leadership positions to, let's move forward. Let's find, let's get the answers. Let's come up with what we need to do. And let's, get on with it. I mean, like I said, I could go on, but that's not solving our problem right now. So thank you for the opportunity.
Frederica, thank you so much for everything that you've said. I can say that Cheltenham has a long history of applying for grants and has and will continue to do so. I wish grant money and money in general grew on trees, but we are competing against a lot of special interests interests throughout the county and throughout the state and the federal government when we do apply for these grants. We submitted multiple applications for things through the county recovery funds, and we're not funded. We continue to seek out opportunities wherever possible to do so. But one of the most important things when we do go for grant funding is having a concerted plan going forward. So funders don't want to fund something and then have it only be a pretty, not a great investment going forward. They don't want to put that Band-Aid on. They want to say, hey, the township has really done its homework and put a plan together, which is what we're going through right now, and looked at everything. And this is going to be the best way to spend the limited dollars that we have in the community. So, so for us to put, say, a boiler into a building when there is a lot of other things going on with that building doesn't necessarily make sense. So we do have things that we can look at, but we want to make sure that going forward, we have a really good, solid plan for the community as a whole, that we're spending grant and taxpayer dollars the best way we can.
And Allison, I think the important thing too to talk about, when you look at how to spend that money and listening to everyone already, of course, we understand that the building needs a lot of help. But another point of tonight is we do want to know about these amazing memories that you've had at the community center. We want to know about the programs that you missed that were once held there, and what kind of spaces can we think about providing to that center, and how can we, yes, it needs a ton of help, there's mold and air issues and everything. So if something major needs to happen there, what major can we do to fix it? Not just about the building itself and the walls and everything, can we provide an event space in the community center so that you can have all these programs, you can have your tea, you can have all of the family events that I see coming up on the chat here. We completely understand that there are a lot of problems there. And, as designers, we want to fix your problems. Like we don't want to see a building in disrepair. We want to offer up those solutions. Again, it's up to the board to decide what's going to happen, and we will provide the answers, that could fix that. But we also want to make sure that we're not just giving you the Band-Aid answer either. We want to make it the right thing. And, we want to hear those really good memories tonight as well. We want to have some positive come out of this too.
Jamie, to expand on that, the social part of this that was brought up, and I forget which community member brought that up, but we like to use the architecture to meld the social ideologies or one of the things we call social collisions. This doesn't necessarily have to be with different social components. It could be with age differences and gender differences and what have you. We try to create spaces that maybe part of Lamont is that we want these social opportunities, but maybe the building can help invite those opportunities. We're not talking about an addition. It could just be something cleaning up a couple walls. If we have to go in there and fix the bones I'll call it the heart in your veins, like, you know, your body. We got to keep our heart healthy. We get the building's heart healthy, but maybe in the process we can open up other opportunities for those social gatherings and help the community in its future next 40 years. We know how it kind of worked in its past. How does it really want to work in its future? It's going to be a little different, but it can be very similar too. Hopefully that makes sense.
Okay, I see Nicole has been waiting very patiently. Her hand's been up for a while. Nicole, jump on in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Drumgoole. I actually was born and raised in Lamont. So I've been here for 34 years. My parents were here decades before me, of course. But as far as the community center goes, that is the staple part of my childhood, you know, going there to play basketball, going to Aldersgate. My first talent show was on the stage at the community center. I met my best friend going to camp at that center. It's endless memories, and most importantly, it's convenient. It's like walking distance. No one has to be, my parents weren't concerned about where I was. I'm at the center. And later on down the line, I bought a house. I purchased my home in the same community to do the same thing for my child that I had growing up. And the concern for me is that the community is not informed about what's going on when it's supposed to be for us. And we had to find out from other community members that this center is about to be shut down and we're not getting any answers to our questions. Like, you know, how much will it cost to repair this? Like, is that even feasible? Is the center just going to be put down to the end because it's not the most important building out of the 16? Will it end up even being fixed? Like, no one knows any answers. And I just want to know that, like, what's the ultimate fate for Lamont? If we don't have the funding, we can't get the grant money, what is going to be the outcome? Because we don't want the worst case scenario, of course, but we also need answers. That's all I have. Keep it short.
Thanks, Nicole. I think we should take this in two pieces. And the first part I just want to say is, like, one of the things that I've been thinking, listening to everybody talk, and you put a super fine point on it about, like, growing up in this community and how easy it was to get here. I think about where I grew up. I didn't grow up in Cheltenham Township, and, like, I didn't have a place like this to go to. So, you know, hearing everyone say that, and, you know, that you could just run over there and your parents knew that it was safe and they knew where you were going. You know, I think that's really a important and wonderful memory of childhood. So I really thank you for that, for sharing that. I think that's awesome.
In addition to that, like, as far as the repairs and maintenance, like, over those 34 years, I've only seen maybe 3 or 4 things actually change with that facility. The playground being one, the gym, minor changes, the chairs and tables in the auditorium, but nothing else like paint or remodeling, or nothing's been done in over 30 years, like, to my eye. So what was being done all this time?
So I can't answer that question, but like I want to offer like just a little bit of insight about like some of the things that I've been hearing people say about the building. And one of the things that is really important about buildings, especially we got like a really old building here. And one of the cool parts about buildings is that they change. They do. All buildings, once they get past a certain age, they change. And it's, you know, they were designed for ways that we don't use them currently. Our needs change, the technology changes, the technology is constantly changing. And so, you know, again, we don't know where things are going. We're just starting to get into all this. but part of it is looking at all the different pieces to understand. Eric, brought up, like, do we replace the boiler? It may not make sense to replace the boiler because we have to look in aggregate about all the things that are kind of at the end of a lifespan in the building. And if we keep doing one after the next versus thinking more holistically about, well, how does a building change to more better reflect the needs of today, of 2022? And so I know I'm not answering your question, and I apologize for that. We don't have the answer yet. But I think it's just, as we think about the building, it's such a great opportunity to really, one of the reasons why we're asking the question tonight about, like, what are the good memories of this place, is because it's very important that as we do think forward about this building and all the buildings that we're talking about in the township, that we learn from what's made them great, but also learn what the challenges are. So in the next, as we start to get back into this, how do we make it even better? How do we take the best things from the past, take the things that have been a challenge, hold on to those good things, and address the challenges to make it the best version that it can be?
I hear that, but it's also like, are these goals and these plans that we're trying to set in place, are they realistic? Are we going to be able to afford them? Are certain things going to have to be cut in order to have the happy outcome to make everyone and all the communities happy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this, sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Drew.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'll speak for Eric right now. Like, we both have a lot of skin in this game, because we live here, we pay the taxes too. And like, I'm really excited about this because it is an opportunity to think about the future for our communities, like for my kids, like, and I think it is it's like, how can we set ourselves up as a community for the Cheltenham community for success? And it is a really complicated thing to untangle all the different parts and pieces of it. But that's what we want to do. I mean, I would, sorry, I'm taking off my architect hat right now. It's like, I wouldn't want to do this if I didn't think that there was something real here. Like, this is important to me. I live here too. And, I want to see this succeed. I want to see our township thrive in every corner of it. That's important to me as a resident. This is, so I really wish I could answer your question better, but it's, we'll find out where we're headed together. And it's my goal personally to do whatever I can as part of both the architectural team and also as part of the community to make it happen.
Yeah, I see a number of comments about asking for a pointed timeline and costs and all those types of things for this building. We're asking for a little bit of patience because we are trying to look at all of our buildings holistically. We recognize that the buildings and the facilities and the services they offer are important to the community. We love to be able to provide everything to everyone, but we have to be prudent as going forward and making sure we have a good plan. And we don't want to rush the process and put Band-Aids on and be in the same place we were in 5 years. So we want to make sure that whatever we do end up with is going to be healthy and safe and providing that service to the community again. So I know you want answers today. We can't give you those answers today. We're just starting this process. And we would love for you to follow the process. And this is the first step, listening to you guys, understanding what you like about the facilities, what you'd like to see change. What does a community center up and running look like to you at the end of the day? So that, the process, at the end of this process, we will have kind of an answer for our board to look at and evaluate all the options. And I don't want to be in their shoes at the end of the day when they have to make that decision of where to go and where to put the money. What does that vision look like? But I'm hopeful that we will have a really exciting answer for everyone.
Okay, I think that the next hand that I saw go up is Juliana.
Oh, hi. I don't live in Mott, but I'm a Glenside resident, and I'm part of the facilities committee. So I would be like the Ward 1 representative. And I joined the committee because I also grew up here in Cheltenham, and then I bought my home here in Cheltenham Township. So it's very important to me that the community has some input on these issues. And I'm feeling really frustrated in particular about Lamont because I toured the facilities, Roland and Lamont, back in December, and I'm just telling you guys my perspective and from my point of view, but I'm very allergic, like with asthma, to mold and mildew. I did not have a problem touring Lamont whatsoever. I did not feel ill coming out of that building. So in my mind, having the heat turned off this winter caused more problems. And that's so frustrating because I think the township residents should have been asked before that decision was made to not fix the heat. And now it's become a bigger problem. I mean, my house is 110 years old, but I'm not going to just not have heat and then let other issues grow more and then decide to tear my house down. That doesn't make sense to me. So, my comment, I guess, and agreeing with the neighbors around there is we need a definite timeline before now another winter the building has to sit with the heat off and then we have more mold and more mildew. I mean, that's not fair to people that would like to use the building. So, I have a bit of a different view because I didn't have a community center I could walk to. So I grew up in Wyncote, but we did have the pool and the library, so that was good. But people that have had a community center or bought their house because of it, this is not fair to those people.
Sorry, I'm just taking a few notes on what you're saying. Thank you very much for your comments on this. Kathy, can we call on you next? Kathy Bowers.
Oh, I'm here. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Kathy Bowers. I live in Glenside. Some of you do know me. I've been here practically all my life since I was 4 years old. I raised my 3 daughters here who are 31, 26, and 23. When I told them what was going on with the community centers, all of them went, "Oh no, what are you kidding me?" They couldn't believe it. So I'm going to share the good parts here with us. Grew up in Glenside, still in the home that I grew up in, raised my children there. And we went to Lamont Roland Community Center all the time for activities. And most recently, my daughter was a dance teacher for the township before the pandemic set in and things changed. She's a teacher as well. So we had sewing classes, knitting classes. We did talent shows, summer theater camp. We did teen camp as well, at Lamont. So we went to other activities, and as well as, which we miss, and I still see the women, we all miss our exercise class at Lamont and at Roland. A lot of people didn't know about it, but it was the great best. Go out and exercise at 7:30 at night. So there's plenty of good memories for us. My children were still here. And as well, so it's very concerning for me, as well as I know the seniors use this center a lot, and I don't know what they're doing. Like, that's my first thought. The pandemic is bad enough. They were isolated. Now they can get together. Is there a senior activity going on anywhere? That's something I was interested in asking if anyone knows the answer to that, because if not, we need to get something going. concerning to me. We can't work with the school district, so I'm going to go into the other part is, so if we really look at it, people, we're looking right at our school, our township buildings having the same issues our school buildings did. So there's a bigger picture going on here. They're looking at all 16 of our buildings. So we commissioners who are on here, township members, be very transparent what's really you're looking at here. Don't give people false hope that we're going to restore Lamont when you have 15 other buildings you're looking at. You know, are we going to? We know the age-old question. And for those who don't know, might not realize, we've been looking how we're going to consolidate all these buildings into one bigger one. Where are we going to put it? How are you going to get to it? We don't have great transportation. Getting from between down Cheltenham Hills Drive, more people are using that as a public walkway and bikeway. Every time I'm down there every day, 2, 3, 4 times a day. I travel from both sides of the township. And so for those on here, you know, look at what went on with our school buildings. I was part of that in the very beginning, you know, and see how Myers, what they're trying to avoid is you get into these older buildings, you don't know what you're getting into until you open it up. So what happened with Myers, they decided to renovate it. And when they got in there, they, you know, lot more money. And then it was too late to say, hey, let's demolish it. And that's why they got rebuilt all our other schools. In reference to the maintenance, go to, so Allison, maybe you can ask, who keeps our maintenance records? What department or who?
We have a property
You-
maintenance department.
So we don't keep any maintenance. Do we have any maintenance record? So this isn't unusual neither in Cheltenham. I asked that age-old question back in 2000, whenever we started with the mold in the old Cedar Brook. We don't keep the best maintenance records, and just keep this total side time for another thing. We need to keep up on our new school buildings or they're not going to be usable in 50 years again. And for those who were with the consulting firm, used to now seem to know about heating, air conditioning. That's what got us in the problem. We need to run them all the time, even when they're not being used. You can't shut them down and let them condensation build. This happens in our own air conditionings at home. People can say so much about the air in the other buildings. I'm sure our homes aren't so much better sometimes. So, and I'm not saying that's a good thing, but you know, keep in mind, you know, so that the commissioners, you know, and to the people with the maintenance records, but there has to be some kind, and that's one problem. Why don't we have maintenance records on all our building? When can you ask? And that's not unusual. I asked the school district years ago, you know, the boiler didn't work at Glenside. Well, when was the last maintenance? They had no records. So that's where we need to make a big improvement, is keeping our maintenance records and what we are and are not doing. And we do have a maintenance situation. It happens with everything. I've been here a long time. I helped develop that baby pool at Glenside 20 years later because somebody wants to skimp to save a buck. But sometimes you need to pay that extra few to keep it long term. So I'm with you all to hopefully be a part of this. But I hope you take some of my, you know, consideration, and I would love to sit down and talk to you more. I've been here a long time. I've watched a lot of the facilities. I've been in the meetings. I don't want to see, because so we're paying a lot for our school taxes. We start rebuilding township buildings. A lot of them, we're going to start paying higher taxes. We're paying for this. We're not, you know, we right now are in a situation, and Mitch will know more better, is we're trying, his last meeting I was in, get grant money to fill our sinkhole in. So we got issues everywhere. So I just don't want people to get false hope here. And I hope we're very transparent that they're here. We need to get it open because it is important. And it isn't, you know, but we need to also make sure that what is our long-term goals. But there's your answer on your maintenance. If that's something you folks can definitely put that at the top of what's going on here after the fact. So, but anyway, I love it here, still staying here, not looking to go anywhere. So, you know, nice to meet those who didn't, you know, I haven't met before, and some do know that I am very vocal when it comes to the township and the school district, but it's in a good way. I'm looking out for everybody because it is important. And my kids had a very good experience. I can't say, everybody, there's good days and bad days for everything. So I want to keep that, and people come here for that. And we should try to make sure that we're proud and make sure that it looks good. We need to look good, and we do pay high taxes. So we want to, get everybody, we want to attract. If we don't, people are starting to sell. The sales signs are going up. This isn't so, and we want to attract, nice, families and, single people, whatever, everybody. So, so that's, I've said mine for the evening. If you have any questions, let me know.
Excuse me. Hello, everyone. I'm Alan Brown. I'm the property maintenance supervisor for Township. Kathy, thank you for your words. And yes, you are correct. The Township, these problems are not new. I've been here 6 years, and since I've been here, we've had the same problems, ongoing problems. Rolling Community Center, Lamont Community Center, they're not new problems. When I walked in, I walked into the same problems that we're having today. Our new township manager, when he first got here, we walked around, we did a tour of the building, and he's like, what was happening? So it's not something that is new in the last 10, 15, 20 years. This is an ongoing problem that the township has had. Everyone here we're trying to do something new. We're trying to correct it and correct it in the right way. Like you said, we're not trying to continue to bandage and continue to patch here. And if we're going to do it, we should do it the right way. Because like you said at Myers, they went for renovation, they opened it up, and then they realized, whoa, we're already $200,000-300,000 dug in, and now it's going to be a couple $1 million project. Who knows? And we have 16 properties. So like you said, we have to look at the bigger picture of everything. I mean, we're having problems at our administration building. We're having problems at our public works, our police station, both of our community centers. Glenside Hall is closed. It's not just one property.
Let me ask, and which I don't understand, and just commissioners, I know that you do, and I don't know if you still have that meeting, at least once a month, once a week, in reference with the school board. It's it used to meet in the morning. I can't think of the official name of the meeting. It's like a liaison type thing. But until we, this is what I don't understand, until we can get our buildings going, we still need our activities. The children still need somewhere to go. So we have all these brand new school buildings that the children attend school there, that us as the taxpayers paid for, but we can't hold our activities there. We can't do dance class. We can't have art class. We can't use the library. I don't know. I find it odd, especially we're in a situation. Our township is in a unique situation right now. And we all, for those who don't know it, come to more of the commissioner meetings. You'll find out the other situations we're in. So I just don't, until then, is there a reason, that, and I would like to approach the school board. I'm not putting anybody on the spot, but I just don't understand why they cannot commingle. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We all pay for it, and the kids are the same, the same activity, same children that go there during the day. Why are they not having their, volleyball team there through the township at night? I know there's insurance, and I know, but we're all one, home rule charter here. So we should be able to figure something else. And even if we have to rent it, we all know how that works, rent it to each entity, and so it's just a thought until we can get, because it's going to be a long time. This is not open. This is going to be a long time. I can see it coming. We can see it. It's bad. It's already, but here we are talking about it. But, winter's coming. These kids need to go somewhere. We're going to have a whole nother problem. We're going to have teenagers running the township, nowhere to go, no activities. So please keep that in mind. I will approach the school board as well.
The school superintendent was on one of these meetings, and he did say that they may be able to work out, as we were talking then about the summer program at Lamont. So he is open to discussing whether or not those buildings the school buildings can be used, Kathy. So, and as far as the senior program, the other senior program in the Montgomery County is through Salem Baptist Church. And that is a viable suggestion for the seniors. Although, again, because of the way
That's
the
in
township,
Roslyn, right?
yes, it is.
Right.
But that's the other, one in Montgomery County that's near Lamont. And that is, they can go there.
So-
They're not functioning on a person to person. They are doing some activities though. So I mean, if I can give you the number, but I'm sure you can
I
look it
was
up
just
online.
curious. I personally don't, unfortunately, my mom passed away this year. So I don't, not looking for me, but I've talked to other people.
Sure.
But yes, if, somehow I can personally send you my information here and you can send, because then I can get it to other people if they're interested, but I'll
Yeah, in
keep that
fact,
mine as well.
instead of going through me, you can go directly to Salem Baptist
Salem
Church
Baptist, that's
of
fine. Sounds
Abington.
great.
Yeah, of
Okay.
Abington. Go and just get the number and call the office and they'll
Right.
direct you from there.
All right, and that's good to know with the school superintendent as well. I definitely think we need to, try to utilize this because it's not going to be a quick fix. So we need to have something to fall back on. They are beautiful buildings. We're paying for them. We should be using them 365. Why not? Why should they sit there? If, especially if we're in a jam, we're really in a jam. And where those buildings are all over, they could periodically be open. There could be some way it could work for everybody. I know it's hard to get, and that's half I said, getting from one side to the other to the township. We definitely have a, I'm not sure the word, it's not a traffic, but like a transportation, just where it's township set up, just the landscape. But I would like to see that Cheltenham Hills Drive. I have a vision for that. That's a big grant for a whole nother time. I can see some walkways and everything right down that road. We need a connector. We don't have a connector there. The only connector we really have is Township Line Road. And I've done it. I grew up in Glenside. When I had friends over, I walked down Township Line Road. There was no going down Cheltenham Hills Drive. But nowadays, that's not stopping people. So, all right. Anyway, I'll let you get back to your meeting. Thank you for all the information, everybody, and listening.
Thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate you're trying to think here outside of what we're like defined to look at. And, I think that part of the study here is, it's equal parts logistics as it is, the specifics of buildings, because it all has to happen in a sequence, as you mentioned. This is a carefully laid out sequence. There's phasing involved, so there's a lot to get in here. I really enjoyed what you were saying here. Teresa, you've been waiting very patiently.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Camarota, and I live up on Church Road near Washington Lane, across from where the first camp of soldiers stood up in resistance against Civil War. So I feel very connected to the Lamont community over the many years I've been here, for 45 years. I've raised my kids here, and I have really fond memories of Lamont. And Lamont is all about history. It's about community history, which so many of you have shared tonight. And it's about national history, which brings forward the uniqueness of what we're looking at in the building and the project and the funding. It's not to be lumped in with everybody else and the many problems of Cheltenham. We really have to go bigger with the funding and find ways that we can make this project happen. I really appreciate that, the young people's, Nicole and Ms. Harden's frustration with all this, and also the elders that have watched this for many years be put aside. Lamont has always been kind of, I'm sorry, but last on the list. And I was involved with projects 10, 12 years ago, and we just couldn't get through to the commissioners the need that was there. The good news would be is that it's a new page, and it's a new board, and it's a new township manager, and it's new interests. And it could be a really exciting project if we could look at it in a larger scope. Because I know Miss Jerry and Miss Darlene have been working hard to pull this together. And I don't want to have too much to say because we need to hear more from the community. But I would like to suggest that maybe a mission statement be put together by the community as to what exactly, really hone in on what you would like to see. It doesn't have to be terribly long, but like Ms. Sandra said, that the concerns of public health and safety need to be a top priority. And perhaps working from that perspective, we can open a portion of the building. It doesn't have to be the whole building, but maybe a portion of the building. And then as we get deeper into the funding and the possibilities, additions can be put on and you can get down to the historic bones and refurbish. It's a really exciting project. And I've heard from other folks in other communities in Cheltenham that are equally excited about these possibilities. So I think that it's the uniqueness of it and the value of this public space for community cannot be underestimated. As you look at these projects around the country where they're rebuilding libraries, they're just phenomenal. They're more than libraries. And I think it would be really helpful if we just kind of get together with neighbors and people of interest and make a wish list and put together a mission statement and put together a beautiful historic package that we can then begin to push forward for further funding. So I really appreciate the young people coming forward with their vision. I know it sounds like frustration because they've begun to invest their life savings here and grow their families here. And we want to make it right for them because they are next generations and that's where we're going. My fondest memory of being in Lamont at a meeting was when Harriet Tubman showed up. And Millicent Sparks came and she gave a presentation and it was absolutely chilling. So I think that the reenactors and the gorgeous history that you have with so many is bigger than Lamont. And the scope and the size of what we're looking at and the possibility of making it a destination point perhaps for some of other school children to come here from other areas. I mean, there's so many possibilities because the history is so deep and so rich. And I applaud the community for coming forward and helping us along. Thank you, Miss Jerry. Thank you, Miss Darlene, Nicole, and Frederica, and Tangela. Is that how you say your name?
It's pronounced Tangela.
Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, I'd like to hear from some of the other neighbors. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa. That was wonderful. I see Jerry Brown with a hand up, waiting patiently.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Brown. I've been a 38-year resident of Lamont. I live on Chelsea Road. I have 2 grown sons. They're not here now. We have an empty nest. And I didn't find out about Lamont until just being in the neighborhood, and I just heard it by word of mouth. And I was like, I just couldn't believe it. And I guess with the pandemic going on, nobody really paid it any attention. But I'm not going to go over everything everybody said because everybody was really correct. But this made me go out. We have an organization now that we're building in Lamont called Lamont Citizens United. And most of these people on here that are from Lamont, they're in this organization. And we all agree that we need to get back into the swing of things. And we do have a vision statement. And that vision statement pretty much ties in what everybody was saying. And I'm going to read it. And it says, we Lamont Citizens United are determined, dedicated to exploring and supporting all positive avenues that lead to the complete restoration of the Lamont Community Center and the Lamont Free Library. it is imperative to develop programs that promote sustainability, have a safe haven for youth and adults while maintaining permanently the historic significance of the village of Lamont. And that pretty much ties in what everyone's been saying and talking about. You know, we love our community and we're going to try to do everything we can to keep it here because it was so convenient, you know? So, you know, that's pretty much all I have to say. You know, I love everybody here that's supporting us. I want to continue to move forward, and we're going to continue to get our community back because we want that center. Right, everybody? Thumbs up. Okay, and that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love your vision statement. I want to go back to what you said, because you said a bunch of things at the end. Sustainability, safe haven, historic significance. Were those the three things that you lifted up in the last sentence there?
Yes, and we could thank all our committee, Barry. I don't know if Barry's on, he's our vice president. And he instituted most of that, and you know, what can I say? He did it. Barry, are you on? I don't know if he's on or not. Oh, well. I don't know. Okay. We have spoken.
I love your statement there, and I love what you rolled into it. Thank you for sharing it. Darlene, your hand's up.
Hi, I'm just going to say two things. One, for years, we've been talking about how our tax money, where it goes, those type of things. And we would get, or at least in the meetings I went to, is that it's two separate things. And again, that's in the past. But I just heard Miss Kathy Bauer state, and it stuck with me, that we're one in one community. And sometimes you might not want to commingle, but that's exactly what had happened. They did not commingle the tax money. And we pay two separate types of taxes, and they don't commingle it. But if you look, the majority is to the school board. I'm thinking that Lamont, the building itself, started as a school. It still did a lot of educational and social things throughout the 100+ years it's been standing there. So again, moving forward, and this is just something I'm throwing out there. It's going to sound crazy, but my grandmother used to work, or not work, but she treated the household, anything in the household, any money that came into the household, she didn't care if it was her money, your money, whatever. When the electric bill had to be paid, it got paid. When insurance, somebody's life insurance had to be paid, it was paid. Okay? And I used to say to her, oh, you can't commingle your personal with the business money. You just can't. You're not supposed to. And my grandmother looked at me and said, it's here, I'm paying the bill. Okay? And what I remember from that, when her sister, my great aunt, passed, her life insurance was paid up 3 months in advance. I don't know what the legalities of taxes are and why they're separate. And you can keep them separate. You don't have to change how we pay it, but maybe how we use the money. And that might help our community center and the other 15 problems that we have. And that's just a thought from listening to Miss Kathy.
Darlene, I like what you're saying, and it's making me think of another project I've been working on for quite some time. It's a very long-term project, and it is I don't know if any of you all are familiar with the Robbins Park Nature Center in Ambler. But it's very interesting, and it's exactly what you're talking about. The township of Upper Dublin owns the land and owns the building, and the school district runs the environmental center out of the inside of the building. And so it's a hybrid school district township effort. And it's, you know, despite their facilities challenges, it's extremely successful with all the students that go through the community. I'm thinking about this in particular with regard to everyone's discussion about the history of Mott. And like over there, every student every year goes to the environmental center, regardless of what age they are. And so they all have this shared experience as they go through school of going there. And, you know, speaking as a parent of 2 kids in the school district, I think it would be amazing if they would be going to the Mott Community Center to learn about the history over the course of time in their, scholastic career, from when they're little kids to when they're big kids, because it has different meanings no matter where you are in your age and in your studies. So I feel you on this idea of like, can there be a collaboration? Can there be a different way of thinking about it? So thank you for sharing that.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, Tangela, your hand's up.
Yes, how much time was allowed for this meeting tonight? I just want to know.
Tangela, to my understanding, it was supposed to be 3 sessions. Lamont was first, and then they still have to talk about the other 2 centers, to my understanding. But Allison, Allison, you answered that.
No.
The other ones are different days. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, different dates? Okay.
Lamont's the first one.
How much
Maybe
time
that's
was
why I
allowed?
was thinking that we were going to talk. Okay.
Yeah, we're setting a 2-hour limit to be respectful of people's time, but if I will leave it to Drew and Eric to see if they have more time, but this has been a very interesting discussion. So
Yeah, I guess my question is, and I'm understanding that you all don't have specific answers for us, but that is what we're looking for, right? As someone said, I'm not in politics. I'm a social worker too, and I don't do politics, and that's not my delivery. So you all are going to get it wrong, whether you like it or not. It is what it is. I show up authentically me, unapologetically me. So my question is this a one-time meeting for this, and this committee that you all have put together for this study? I want to know how it's being funded. As a director of a nonprofit, I understand putting these things together and they have to be funded. So 1, is this being funded? And 2, what is your timeline for your outcome or your research? You all should be clear at least on those factors. Can someone speak to that?
So, Allison, I'll take the timeline for the study. I think you may not have been there in the beginning, but we're going to start to go into all the buildings, all 16 of the buildings, and start doing those assessments. And we're going to do that through the month of August. We're going to be paralleling while we talk to the other department heads about their program needs. And then we'll meet with Allison and the leadership team about needs versus wants, so that we can really narrow down that program for what they need now and what they're going to need in the future. Then we're going to bring everybody back together in late September. This includes Lamont. And we're going to start talking about, what did we find? This is all the program you want. in it, you know, you got a program like this, but your building's this. And then what are we going to do? And does program get cut? Do we have to make some adjustments? And that'll be a discussion we talk with the community. We're not going to come in there with an idea and show it to you. We're going to, you know, run through some examples and talk to you and have you be a part of that design, and the community be a part of that design. So, and I think we'll cover what that charrette might look like in a later correspondence. Hopefully, we can then start to reconcile this, put construction budgets to it, get all the options and budgets together, put it all in a package, and we're going to hand it to the board by December. I'm not sure if but that's the schedule that we've been asked to perform.
Okay, so who is, and I was at one of these meetings, I think, where you all pitched. So I guess you all were chosen. Is that
Yes.
what happened?
Yeah.
Great, congratulations. But and maybe it's just me, but it does seem like, I see Miss Ann, you laughing, but it does seem like, and I don't know, but again, I'm going to put it out on the table. It does seem like there is something amiss. And I'm not talking to the architects who are coming in. I'm talking to whoever the commissioners are sitting on that board. You all have been very quiet during this meeting. I don't know if you're just listening. But it seems like you all want to do something, like you have something in mind that you want to do. And I think people don't want to be placated with on, oh, you know, we're living in nostalgia. What is it that you want? Because I haven't heard anybody on this meeting say that the building of Lamont does not meet or serve the function of the community. I want to be very clear. Everybody is saying that building is sufficient to meet the needs of the community. It just needs to be brought up to the standard so that it is safe for the community to use it. So I hear you when you say you're going to have these vetting meetings or these think tanks with all of these 16 facilities to see what is the larger picture. And then as someone says, are you all going to consolidate it? Like, I think that's the question. Do you all have something that you all actually want to do? Or are you all working to preserve Lamont Community Center, which is what I am hearing my neighbors and myself say? And maybe, again, that's not to the architect. So Eric, whoever's on your team, that's probably a question for the commissioners to answer.
I think, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have any foregone conclusions. We want to be able to have the architects go out, evaluate all of our buildings, look at them from a big picture perspective, understand what it's going to take to fix them, where we can find efficiencies, what we can do, what our options are. We have a lot of things that we can do. We don't know what the best one is until we go through this process and do the evaluations. I mean, as Alan alluded to, you know, I'm just going to pull a Mott, but it could be any of our buildings. When you look at them real quick, you might think, oh, we could fix that for $300,000, no big deal. But once you get into opening that building up and doing the design work and everything like that, it could be 10 times that or more. So we want to make sure before we make any decisions, we've done our homework. And that's really where we are. We don't have any foregone conclusions at all.
So you're not committed. So what I hear you saying, Allison, is you're not committed to preserving Lamont. That's what I hear.
I'm not making any promises either way.
Right.
And I'm not saying that, no, we're not going to preserve it, but I'm not saying that we aren't going to look for other things as well.
Right. And I look forward. And again, if your outcome comes back to something else in December, then remember this, and it's being recorded.
Angela, no, absolutely. And there are so many options that I'm not saying that anything, and before any decisions are made one way or another, there will be further conversations, but we do need to go through the process and look at everything holistically.
And if I can say one thing, what we don't want to do is just continue to do what we've been doing. Just patch it here. We throw a boiler in, we'll get heat for the winter. Yeah, but that's not addressing any other issue that we're having with the building. So when we say we're looking at the whole picture, we're looking at just the entire facility itself, what it would cost to make all the repairs necessary, and then go from there. That's all we're saying. This is still, I mean, just like Allison and the architects are saying, we're just really just getting into this. So, I mean, only thing we can tell you is that we're just trying to do this the right way, you know, and
Well, Alan, but I think we have to sit with Alan and again, I want to be solution oriented. I really do. But you all are asking us to put trust and confidence in you all who have taken these leadership positions, yet we are where we are. And you said yourself, when you came into the position, you are still grappling with the same problems, right? So again, what is being accomplished? I hear you want to go grand screen. I am with you. What makes sense? What's most sufficient? If it's most sufficient to merge together and actually come up with one community center, and maybe we look at transportation, as I heard someone voice as a concern, so that everyone could actually have access to transportation, because we also, I heard somebody say equity, right? Like if we want to look at equity, we got to look at the social economics of everybody in these communities. I am fortunate. My child is fortunate. My child will be okay. But I'm not voicing my child. I'm not here voicing myself for my child. It's for those other children who have single parents, who work, who won't get home until after hours, and their children don't have a way to get to a community center. So again, if you all are going to merge this, then it becomes, well, how is the transportation? You're going to pay money out either way. If we as the citizens fight and push this in the way that we need to push it, you all are going to pay money either on the front end or on the back end.
And completely understood. I mean, there are a number of issues, and you touched on a lot of them that I think we really do need to talk about and address, and will be considered as we move forward through all this, because we do want to make sure that whatever we end up with is something that people can get to. I mean, if we have this beautiful facility that no one can get to, it doesn't make sense. So we need to look at all of those options, and definitely appreciate that moving forward. You ready, Drew? Looks like Juliana.
Yep, Juliana.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I'm very concerned hearing, like, I just feel like we're dragging out this process. I know that we have to ask the community what they want, but if plans or an idea might not even be on the table until the winter, here we are again. And if you're not going to fix the heater again in Lamont, which, Commissioner Rappaport said in the comments, like, of all the buildings, that's a very historic building. Like, let's put some importance into that and have some heat for the next heating season. Because if we don't even have our plans in place by then, things are just going to get worse, and moisture and mold and mildew, that is a direct result, I believe, of the not having heat. So I feel the frustration of how long it takes to come up with plans. But in the meantime, if you have a building that's so important historically, why can't that be addressed for this next winter instead of letting it sit again? I don't know if anyone can answer that from the township. I don't know if anyone hears me.
This is absolutely ludicrous.
Can anyone hear my question?
Yeah, Juliana, we could hear you.
Juliana, I heard you. I'm sorry. This is Miss Darlene. You're welcome, honey. Listen, I will agree that if we don't get heat in the building of some sort, don't do something, it is going to be a greater problem.
Right. That just
My
seems...
question, Right. My question is, because somebody mentioned.
Well, can we
there
see
can
if they have an answer to that question first, Ms. Darlene, before we move forward? That's a very good question. To the architects, is the building going to get worse if we do not do something and let it sit through the winter?
Well, it's not going to get, go ahead, yeah, Allison.
Oh, no, Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, mold isn't just because of heat, it's humidity, mold's everywhere, right? I just want to make sure you're clear of that, right? Everywhere in Cheltenham and everywhere across Pennsylvania, there's mold spores in the air. Mold needs a couple things to grow, right? It needs humidity, and it needs a food source. Drywall, ceiling tiles, those mats that are in the gym. That is the food, and now you just need humidity. Now that could come in the summer when you don't have AC running, and it could also come in the form of the winter when we don't have heat drying out the building a little bit. So yes, if the building isn't conditioned, both air conditioning or ventilation and or heating, the mold could expand, but it's already there, right? So in my perspective, what I saw, a lot of things are going to have to come out of that building, and you just can't treat it with bleach. It's there. We got to fix. It's not a fix. And Alan touched on this. We can't patch this thing. You really got to go in there and clean that system up. And we need to fix the air infiltration that's going on in the building. I keep on forgetting who talked about the healthy building, but that is a huge part of this. And if you're going to fix the mechanical system, it doesn't do any good if you don't fix the skin. So there's a kind of a complete component to this that needs to occur. If in the event that the building stays for the next 50 years, that has to happen. Just putting a boiler in, yeah, you might slow the mold growth down, but that's not going to solve your problem. You're just going to incur more debt. I definitely think. Go ahead.
If the township doesn't have any mold remediation plan for this building, there's nothing in place. Right. I mean, we all realize that the mold is only going to get worse, which means that the remediation plan will only keep getting more and more and more expensive. So I don't understand why they can't address that, especially if, one of our commissioners is recognizing that it's a very historic building. I don't think we want to just tear down the building, even if we use it for different things into the future. Why is there no remediation plan in place to prevent it from becoming a more expensive problem?
And I'm speaking for Allison here, and I'm a resident as well, right? So I believe that they haven't engaged it because they do realize the Band-Aid's going to cost money and it's not going to fix the problem. So they're trying to come up with a plan, how best to utilize the funds that they're going to have to use. And Ms. Bowers brought up an idea that there might be a unified location where all these things kind of move to, and that'll be part of the study. I'll be honest with you, but the number one part of the study is to maintain all the facilities. And what is it going to look like, and what is it going to cost? And then we're going to have to show some options about, we don't have an unlimited budget. So eventually the board's going to come back and, hey, what can we afford to do? How do we want to do it? What's the best logic to that? I don't know those scenarios. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I will tell you the number one scenario will be to keep the facility in place and fix it. And we're going to look at that value, but we're also going to look at a value of if the community component or the library component or some of these components may find themselves to a more central location. I can tell you there isn't another township that has 4 libraries like we have. None, right? I'm in Abington and Upper Moreland. Abington has 2, has a small one in Roswell, but they have 1 big one. All of them have 1. So there'll be some things that we'll have to talk about as a part of a big picture. As when we were talking about that late September meeting, these are going to be some of the items that we're going to talk to them about. But I don't want anybody to not think that keeping Lamont and fixing Lamont will be the number one option, but you're going to have to look at other options that goes with it. I mean, I think that's fair to say, Allison, because we're going to be tasked to make sure what do we have to do to get these buildings up and running, and what will it cost?
Yeah, I can say, Darlene, just let me add, the boiler isn't the only, not running isn't the only reason why there is mold growing in there. One of and Lamont isn't unique. I think almost every single building we have is getting to an age where foundations are cracking. There's kind of leaks in the walls, leaks in the roofs. They're not weather tight. So there are ways that the water is getting into each and every single one of our buildings. So in order to weatherproof, watertight them, it's going to take a lot of work, and it's not just making sure the heat and the air conditioning is running to prevent the mold growth. We've looked at, like I said, I haven't opened the walls up at Lamont, but I know we've looked in a number of places and looking at doing some renovations, and we go, wow, there's a lot more to that simple project. And that's what happens to a lot of these old buildings is we go, oh, we're going to do a simple project, and it's 4 or 5, 10 times what we originally thought, because we're looking at age-related issues in these buildings that need to be repaired. So that's why we're bringing Eric and Drew and team out to look at these buildings so that they can help us understand the true costs to ensuring these buildings can continue to operate. As Eric said, is that's the number one option. What does it cost to continue to operate that building? What's it going to take? How much is it going to cost? So don't think that even though we're not saying we don't have an outcome and we're not committing to anything, we are committing to at least looking at what it's going to cost to open, keep these buildings up and running. What the end outcome is, I don't know, because we don't know what the true cost will be.
Oh, okay. Let me just say one thing, maybe two. I received information earlier this week, and I guess it's a good time to ask if the information I got has changed or was incorrect, or maybe it was a thought of. To my understanding, East Cheltenham Library and Lamont Library is temporarily open. Monday, Wednesday, I don't have my thing up to say what the hours are. We are also informed, because the way that building is structured, that the library and the bathroom is kind of like in the middle and separate from where the gym is. So we somehow, or maybe just the way the building is, somehow that part of the building is safe. Safe enough for us to go in there 3 days a week and from the hours of 2 and 6. The next thing is these buildings was built in 18 something, can't remember the date, and Lord knows we did not have air conditioning. We had just nature. You open the windows in the summer. You open the door, you get a cross breeze to help with the ventilation. When you close up any building and you just run air conditioning in it, you end up having an air quality, because if your air vents aren't correct, you have a problem. So opening the windows and maybe venting might help. Now this, what I'm going to say, is on a personal. Ms. Jerry and I had the opportunity of going in, not through the whole building. Just like, I can't remember the lady's name, I am very sensitive to smells and odors. I will have an asthma attack on you, and first it will start as a coughing spell. I don't remember getting sick going into the parts that we were taken into. However, I will say that where that boiler's at, yes, it's dead. It's done. The whole room needs fixing. And if you don't figure out where that water is coming from, my daddy always told me water can clean you and water can kill you. And it don't necessarily run down. It can run any kind of way it decides to run. But the other part for me that was very shocking is that it was closed. We weren't informed that it was closed, to the point that, again, maybe because the pandemic and people had already figured out what they were going to do with their kids and do it themselves, but we weren't told. But it reopened not once, but twice. First was in November for the general election. I have circulatory problems. along with some other problems. I went in there in November because I refused to mail ballot. Don't trust the US mail. I did not come out with blue fingers, purple toes, a cold nose. That's a brick and stone building. Somehow it was insulated good enough with the boiler that was down. And then it reopened again. And I will agree with Allison and the architects that you do have other buildings that unfortunately from the pictures that I've seen, and again, if people will come to the commissioners meetings and other meetings in the township, they would have saw some of those pictures. It could make you cry. They're bad, including the administration building and where the records are. So at this point, I guess I'm about a little confused, just like the other lady is confused, that we have part of that building open and the other part can't be open and it needs repair. But it makes me think that it's not the first floor where most people go to. It is not the gym. That is the most newest part, I guess. I don't know. Because at the last election, they had people in the gym. They had people over there where I'll call it the auditorium and the stage. So maybe it's just the basement that the floor is sinking because it looks like it's a foundation and where there is some mold. Maybe it's just the top floor, and I don't remember anybody going to the top floor. I don't think the children were allowed to go to the top floor. I couldn't even tell you what's on the top floor. And we didn't go into the other room that's off on the first floor. And I don't want to Band-Aid. I agree. You keep Band-Aiding, the Band-Aid falls off, and then we get the mess that we get. But it's kind of confusing to me that something can't be done to keep the building open and ventilated while we are doing this process. And it's going to take a long time. It's not going to be done overnight at all. And if the main thing is to try to figure out how we can keep that building, because one is in the National Historic District, it's probably not maybe one of the older buildings, but there's some houses that are built in the 1800s in Lamont. We're not tearing them down because a person has a heating problem. No, we tell them to go and get some heat. We tell them to get some air conditioning. We tell them to fix the roof. And the residents have to do that. Now, as for what happened to the money and the grant money, I can tell you that grant money went to put the playground. But if somebody would have said that you needed a boiler or air conditioning unit before that playground, as much as my pet peeve is children, and I just, anything about a little child will get me upset. No, you don't do things to children. That me being on one of those advisory boards, I would have said put it to the building, not to the outside. So again, I don't know what can be done, but my understanding for tonight is that the architect's main purpose is to be the people that go in, look, assess, give facts, not opinions, of what they see, and then give from the factual of what they see based on now in 2022 what we can and can't do. And I hope everybody goes to the library. It'll be open Friday, unless one of the commissioners tell me no, because I sent out Chelsea chat and it goes past Lamont. Okay. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
My comments. I'm sorry. Taking too much time.
And that was very, 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 very good. observation by you, because that is actually the voice of the concerned of the community of color in Lamont. To me, it looks to that this may be a major public health and public safety issue, because we haven't yet addressed the issue of implementing a COVID-19 protocol for that community center. We need to discuss that portion of it. I mean, because you're talking about a place where people will congregate and children that are interacting with each other. And you're talking about a library that is no bigger than a pigeonhole. And folks are sitting in close proximity. These are the disparities that occur in a community that is accepted amongst the Black community, of finding it that it's okay to be in a setting that is like that. Find a way to make it is what it is. However, now we're in the midst of a crisis, and this crisis is not going to end. We have to first put in mind that public health is a priority here. The public health issue was, the ball was dropped before the pandemic, and now it's seriously forgotten. We really didn't take in consideration or either making this opportunity to receive grant money to really help support your efforts in helping us as a community to collaborate, to come together, to have enough money to do what we need to do. So there's a deficit right here from the very beginning. Where do we go? Where do we go, commissioners? Where do we do? What do we do? I'm very fond of our commissioners that are on today. And I know you very well. You know what the suffrage is here. And I will tell you first and foremost, although I have a very passionate piece with this community center, my concerns is, where are you putting us? That's the major factor. And if it means that we have to funeralize it on a basis of saving our lives and our community and our children, Aldergate, what happens to those children that we were pulling up out of the community? As Nicole has stated, I wonder, I would not want to put them in that building unless we have something that is safe to where our children are not going to get sick. Don't kind of put, as they call, sugar over you know what, for the sake of pacifying us.
Right.
Fix the issue. If it's that you're not going to do it,
Just say it.
just say it. Funeralize it. But give it some dignity, whatever you do, commissioners. Give it dignity.
Agreed. Can someone, Mr. Allen, can someone speak to that? How is it that part of that building is able to be utilized? So it seems like the library and the bathrooms you all have deemed is safe, health-wise, but the rest of the building is not. How is that? Or one of the architects, I don't know, somebody, whoever made the decision.
So the library board, we had a company come in and do just a walkthrough to see how bad the mold condition was in the building. The library board had the same company come in and do both. And they made certain adjustments. Roland Community Center, they was told that it was recommended by the company that they not use a portion of their library because of the condition of the building. Lamont Community Center, it was recommended that we close off the HVAC to the rest of the building because of the condition of the building. As you know, Lamont is a small library. It's right off the side. It's just in the corner. It's on the exterior of the building. But like we said, it's not just because we don't have heat at Lamont. It's not the only reason we have mold in the building. We have groundwater coming in, the entire, everything below grade. You know, we have groundwater infiltrated in the building. We have roof leaks throughout the building. So just because you may not have water coming in through the walls of the library or through the roof of the section right over the library does not mean it's that way for the rest of the building.
Right. So are you saying, I mean, I get that, and I'm not making the claim that there is or isn't mold in the library. What I'm asking very clearly, or trying to get an answer to, is that has there been a professional to come in, evaluate the situation of the library and the restrooms, because you can't have that library open without giving access to the restrooms, that will make it safe for those who are going to patronize the library? Are you all saying yes, it's safe? Or again, I mean, the silence is very telling.
I mean, as I said, we had a company come in, do a mold inspection of the building.
Yeah.
The library board is a separate board. They make their own decisions. They have their own budget. I can't speak for the library board, you know.
And so what I'm saying to all of my neighbors, I wouldn't dare myself or let my child or any of my family members go.
I mean, like I said, they had a company come in. The company made recommendations. I'm sure the library board made whatever fixes that need to be done for the recommendation, you know, from the company.
Are we able to have access to that report?
I'm sure if you, I guess if you were going to an Allison library board meeting or something like that, is that?
No, I'm asking,
reach out to the library.
Can somebody send it to Allison? Can I contact you? Can you send that report to me?
You'd have to reach out to the library. We don't have access to the report.
Can you put it in the chat? Who am I to reach out to?
Sure.
Please. Thank you.
Hello, this is Miss Darlene again. When it comes to that library, yes, it's very small. It has been that way for decades. And years ago, one of the citizens, to my understanding, took their own money to file, I guess, legal court claims because of that library and how it functioned or dysfunctioned. I don't know what the outcome to that was. Miss Sandra made some good points. But if it's deemed to be open, then it seems like it's deemed to be safe, but it is in.
Don't make that. Don't
No,
don't
I'm
make
saying
that
it's in the
connection.
precinct. No, I'm
Do
saying it's
not
in
make
the
that
precinct.
connection.
Let me finish my sentence, sweetie. Let me finish my sentence. I talk slow sometimes. We are in the post-pandemic, which again is something that I hadn't thought of. Maybe because I put my mask on and physically I know how my body reacts. But what I was getting ready to say is that I can understand the concern because we are in this new world age where this virus that has been out for since the 50s or the 60s got out of control. And now we have to change it and think about our safety. So I can understand your concern of not letting a child in there if they don't have some type of protocol of maybe how many people can go in at a time, where they can sit and those type of things. I was just confused because it's open. And if it's open, that means someone deemed it to be safe for whatever reasons.
I'm sorry, could we let my child speak? Nicole's had her hand up for a long time.
Oh, yes. We're sorry, Nicole.
It's okay. It's just a little frustrating to me. Like, I do appreciate whoever put this meeting together and like opening up a listening ear to our community while we voice our concerns and our wants and needs for the community center. But I feel like I'm leaving out with the same information that I came in with. Like, this was like kind of pointless. Like, we have no answers. All of our questions are being deflected and just kind of sugar coated, like no one knows, like, yes, we're putting this plan together. We don't have any answers for you yet. So kind of like, what was the purpose of this meeting if we can't get any of our questions answered? Like, everybody's being silent. Elias, please.
Nicole, that's a great question. This meeting was really about KCBA and ReVision, really learning what was important to the community center, to the community, and how it's utilized. How could it be better utilized? You know, we were going to touch on the challenges, and you guys covered that really well. So, you know, while you're not maybe getting the answers that you need, we're getting a vision, and we're getting the components that's going to drive where we take the study for Mott Community Center. And that, to me, it's very valuable. You might not see the value, but you will start to see the value when we get back together in late September to kind of go over what these options might be. And these options will be created with, and hopefully we can do this in person. I'm not sure what the rules are with that, but hopefully we can get into a room and we can, and you know, maybe the school, you know, we could use one of their rooms, and we can put some paper up on the wall and start to kind of figure out what we need to do. And I'm sure we're going to generate 7 or 8 options about how to handle what we're trying to do here today. But it'll be fun. It'll be a good chance for everybody to see how everybody's thinking, and you kind of reconcile that. So I don't want you to think it was a waste of time. Your answers weren't answered, but it really helps me, and it helps Drew and Jamie and the design team about what we're going to propose here. I know Sandra and Tangela, I'm sorry, saying that wrong. You know, really want to kind of just get that building up and running, but we're kind of tasked with getting it up and running, but fixing the non-code compliant issues that are in there. And when we do that, we try to fix other things while we're in there. Now, there might be programmatic things, but we can fix them. Maybe the library can be done a little bit better. We get a little bit more natural light. These are all these things we'll be talking about, so that your experience in Mott in the future will be better than it was in the past. I hope that helps you.
I do understand like what is trying to be done, and I'm happy that something is at least in the works. But my fear is that like we're being sold these like dreams that can never come into fruition because we don't have the money for, you know, these lighting. We can't even fix the main issues that are going on, the mold, the, I don't know, wiring, the small issues that are like relevant right now, but we're talking about grander scale things. Like, where is this funding coming from?
Like, again, I think when we get the study done, it'll have all the facilities in it. And I think that then that the commissioners are going to have to decide what they're going to do. And there'll be a whole bunch of different options, and I'm sure everybody's voice will be heard. I can't guarantee you what their answers are, as Allison said. I don't know where that's gonna, where this will go, but we're definitely we're gonna listen, and we're gonna explore Mott. We'll see where this goes in December. All right, does that? I mean, that's that's the best I can tell you at this point.
All right. So in the meantime, it's just pretty much we're waiting till December till all this is done, and then we can ask questions and find out, like, will we be informed about this information? Because we were uninformed up until this point. until we started questioning ourselves. So are we going to be informed of the decisions or the plan come December? Will it be another meeting? Like how is the communication going to be moving forward?
Nicole, we're going to have another meeting with Lamont and in all the communities in late September.
Yeah, so we'll keep you
Thank
guys
you.
posted for the September meeting, and as other public meetings occur, we will keep you posted. We have a webpage on our website that is it's Township Facilities. I think you can find it through the Hot Topics button. And that'll help you, it'll give you information as we move forward as well.
Thank you.
And I don't know, Nicole, if you haven't already, our website, there's an opportunity to sign up for our email list, and you can get information emailed to you almost daily with information on the township.
I just want to say, Allison, I asked that you put are you a commissioner?
No, I'm the township assistant manager.
Okay.
I just hit send.
Put it in the chat.
Yep.
Just piggying back off of what Nicole said, Eric, I think that your agency was put in a very precarious situation because the feel of this meeting and why constituents of Lamont came is not what you all were needing, right? And so you have two things butting heads. So whoever put this together, I know you have two other meetings coming up. People actually wanted to hear and voice why their community centers got shut down. This is what took precedent in this meeting. And Eric, I hear you, and I think you were doing a very good job, but I think somebody put you in a piss poor position to come into all of this and trying to do your job. That's what I think is actually happening here.
No, thank you, Tangela. You're right. We're in a tough spot, but we're really going to gather that information, and we're going to try to put that to good use, and really kind of create, like I said, what the possibilities are. Regarding why it was closed, I think those will be other items that I'm sure the commissioners will have to deal with in the public meetings.
Could you give a dollar amount, how much the Lamont Community Center was allotted?
We haven't gone through that yet. We haven't even, once we go through the study, we're going to understand what the value to get it up to code and make it work the way it should work, so that the facilities guys don't put Band-Aids on it. It'll work. And their HVACs will be controlled by their apps and their stuff like that. So it'll be like what all the other buildings are doing, like even at the school districts, it's what they're doing. And there's no reason why the township isn't at that point. And we're going to try to get them there, in 2023 or whenever this begins to start. So there has not been any discussion about any amount of money to any community or any township building or the police or anything like that. No values have been established.
Okay, well, eventually be able to get that information. Eventually, will that information be shared with the community once that is, you come to that decision?
Allison, you should probably answer. I know we're going to give the information to the commissioners, but I'm not sure how that
works.
Yeah. The documents, reports will be posted on that webpage on our site for township facilities. We definitely will make that information public.
Thank you.
I just want to add, part of what I've been hearing is the urgency to get programs going again. And I think that it's something that, as Eric and Jamie and I get into this study, we may want to very specifically look at this building in terms of some phasing work. And by that, what I mean is we might want to look at how can we get some of this building up and running quickly and safely and compartmentalized from other parts of the building, which might not be safe. And so instead of, we'll end in the same place. If we can identify, yes, this building has some systemic problems that need to be addressed with regard to water infiltration, the HVAC system, mold, et cetera, technology upgrades, et cetera. We can get to the same point in the end, but look at it in a way where we can kind of roll it. So it's not like we take the whole building down for a couple years to do a renovation project, but look at how can we quickly get some areas back online so you can start doing programs and serving the community the way you need to, and then address some of the other issues.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great, because according to what you're saying, so the development will actually be our timeline. Is that what you're saying?
I think that it's one of the things that as we go, so, part of the study, as Eric was mentioning, is like, there's a spectrum of solutions to the township 16 buildings, right?
Mhm.
And on the one end is we take every one of those 16 buildings and do a pretty serious adaptive reuse of them to bring them, not just up to code, but up to like the technology standards that we need, the safety standards that we need, the health, safety and welfare that we need for these buildings. On the other end, as people put out, yeah, there's another scenario at another extreme pole here, which is consolidation. There's so many solutions in between those two areas. And I think that what we want to do as a team is figure out what the best solution for the township is, looking at the many multifaceted sets of values here, from everything from the community development to tax base to time. These are all different things that go into the ultimate decision making. As Eric said, we'll put together the information and bring that to the commissioners. But what I am hearing is, as part of that, to really look about how can we phase this thing in particular for this building to get it back online and functional to serve these very immediate needs of the community, and kind of rebuild from the momentum that was lost during the pandemic. So I really appreciate hearing what everyone's been saying, because it's helped me to personally to understand what the true needs are here and what we're working with. So I thank you all for that.
Great. So you're looking at this in terms of a sustainable approach in relation to the programs and the actions that were going on within the facility in lieu of the development and fixing the building and bringing it up and continuing to keep it up to code. So if you do it on a gradual basis, based upon bringing the most important that's into the community, that the people that we serve, to make that determination, and then work very gradually towards your goal, which will look like a timeline, that will look like a budget, and that will be able to be of a satisfaction to the community. And, those of you who are so graciously honoring and giving these funds to development. So that is what I think I'm hearing.
Yeah, and it's what I think I'm hearing too. I think we're definitely strict.
Sorry, I was checking chat.
I'm straying a little bit here, but I can't help but go here, because it's what I hear as the need and the way to do it. Because, and I don't know the mechanism for getting these things to happen. I think that we all need to talk and figure out, okay, if we want to go down this road, because, for anyone that's not been through like a building project, it does take a long time, right? The design, the permitting, the construction, and what I don't want is personally, like, what I'm hearing is we need to get back, right? We need to get back and do things. And there is a way to do that. It just requires a different approach. And, I think that there is a way to do it. As I said, like, you can have like part of the building that's not safe to be in and part of the building that is safe to be in. That's compartmentalization. And we can do that. And I think it's just part of going after it with that intention and that plan. So again, like, I don't know the exact mechanism to do it. This is something we would all, the design team and the township would need to talk about, but, it is one of many solutions, and maybe it's the right one. I don't know. We have to continue to push on it.
But Drew,
Okay.
can I? Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Angela, were you?
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So just to piggyback on that, so what have you all been given a budget, and what is your overhead cost?
So, I mean, we do have, and Eric, please jump in here. Like, we've got a budget for our study. And I think that what we need to figure out.
It's $25,000 for all 16 buildings.
Oh, that is very meager.
We live.
I guess for the study, let me back up. For the study, that's a lot for a study. And I know your time is important and your expertise. But then, do you have an established budget that they have told you all that you are working with?
Zero. We haven't been told a budget yet. Nothing.
No.
Okay. And then, so my other one is, what are they paying you all? And I'm sure this is public record, but what is the cost for what you all are doing?
It's our fee. Our fee is $25,000 to do the full study of all the buildings and provide that, and meet with the community, and to provide that big package to the commissioners to review in December.
Right, but you're in whatever plan you come up with and the commissioners decide on, then you're going to move forward in implementing that, correct?
We don't know what they're going to do.
Right.
Yeah, that hasn't been decided. But you're right. If they decide to go forward, I'm sure they either discuss with us, or they may have other decisions, but they'll decide what they're going to do, and then they'll probably put it out to bid.
I think as we develop the the construction cost estimating for the projects, part of that cost will also be the soft cost associated with every project, which would be the fees paid to the architects and the engineers and everything.
Yeah, permitting and everything.
Yeah. But I think that's important for the constituents to keep in mind. Again, that overhead costs and all of that too, that's a part of the project too.
Yeah, your FF&E is a part of that as well, which is your furniture, your equipment, your whiteboards, all those little accessories. Yeah, so when we give a budget to Allison and we get that to the commissioners, it will be a full project cost all the way from moving furniture in to everything. It'll be a full project. It'll have a construction cost, but it'll also have what Drew was talking about, soft costs, and that's all those other fees.
We will, Darlene, if you can keep it short, we'll keep you as the last word, and then we'll close it up for tonight.
Okay, real short, since we're talking about money. The building itself is a combination, is a community center that has a library separate entrance. So my question, I guess, is not really even to the architect, since we're talking about money and budget. The township does send us out information in their mailing with their calendar about the township budget breakdown. Is that building under Public Works, or is it a combination of the budget for Public Works, Park Recreation, and libraries? Because you have the park right next to it, and then you have the library that's inside it, and the building. So I guess that's a curiosity question, because it seems like, according to what was sent out to all the residents, there is a breakdown, a little pie chart of how much money and how many millions it is and thousands for that. So, again, we are talking about 16 buildings, but that particular one looks to be a combination. I'm not sure if Roland has a library inside. I'm not sure. I don't want to be, but I know ours do. So just want to know who does the budget.
Darlene, I'm not entirely sure. off the top of my head which breakdown it falls under. I know our
Okay.
buildings fall under, there is a buildings maintenance line item. So for general maintenance, it comes out of there, but then there's capital funds. So it comes out
Right.
of a number of different pots.
Right, and I saw that that there was a question about the library and their notes, and the library is separate too. It's the part, you know, they have their little breakdown in park and recreation. So that's the reason why I asked. Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen and lady, for giving the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Eric, Drew, do you have any closing remarks?
I really appreciate you. Go ahead, Drew.
I was just gonna say, I'm very grateful to have met you all this evening, and hear your stories and your points of view. I hope to meet you all in person in September when we do this community event. I thank you for your generosity of your your thoughts and your candor. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Drew. It's good. I agree with your sentiments completely there. I really do appreciate everybody's time. You know, it's been long. We're 2.5 hours in, and you've all been very patient. And you've listened to some of the things that we said. And you know, if additional information comes out, we would love to hear it. That maybe the things that weren't brought up, but we're open. We definitely want to listen, and we definitely want to try to implement the things the community needs. And I appreciate your time. Thanks again.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out tonight. We really appreciate the great turnout and the great discussion. And again, I echo what Eric and Drew said. We look forward to continued discussion and hopefully coming up with a great solution for the entire community. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Night.
You too.